Disney buying Star Wars was supposed to be the beginning of a new golden age. More movies, more shows, and endless opportunities to explore this galaxy far, far away. Instead, it feels like we are trapped in a galactic fast food drive-through, with sequels reheated like leftover fries and shows that taste fine at first, but leave you wondering if you actually enjoyed them. The truth is, we are not mad about getting more. We are mad about getting more of the same. The sequels alone tell you everything you need to know. The Force Awakens was a shiny remix of A New Hope. The Last Jedi tore everything down, and The Rise of Skywalker panicked so hard it glued the scraps back together with duct tape and nostalgia sprinkles. It is like watching three directors try to babysit the same toddler, and each one feeds it a different diet. Of course, the kid grew up confused, and unfortunately, that kid is Star Wars. Then the shows hit, and suddenly you realise how wide the spectrum really is. You have Andor delivering some of the sharpest writing and tension in the entire franchise, and then you have the Book of Boba Fett turning one of the coolest characters in the galaxy into the galaxy's nicest landlord. It is whiplash, going from prestige television to straight to DVD energy within the same brand. And yet we keep watching, because when it works, it works. The cameos are another beast entirely. Luke Skywalker showing up in The Mandalorian was jaw-dropping, but also felt like Disney holding up a giant neon sign that said, "Please clap." Nostalgia is fun, but it cannot carry the entire galaxy on its back. When every other story leans on a legacy character to keep people interested, it shrinks the universe instead of expanding it. And that is the exact opposite of what Star Wars was built to do. And the strangest part is, fans are not even against Disney milking the saga. We expect it. We know this galaxy is a cash cow, and honestly, we are okay with that. What we want is quality to go along with quantity, vision to go along with volume. Give us compelling characters, daring stories, and a reason to care beyond the merchandise aisle, and suddenly nobody will be complaining about milking, because the milk will actually taste good. In this video, we are going to break down why Disney's endless stream of Star Wars is not the problem, why fans like me can live with the milking, and how the real issue is the lack of consistency and passion behind the projects. From sequels to spin-offs, from cameos to cash grabs, this is a look at how the galaxy, far, far away, became a brand first and a story second, and why it does not have to stay that way if Disney chooses to change. When Disney bought Lucasfilm for over $4 billion back in 2012, nobody was shocked at what came next. You do not spend that kind of money just to let the franchise gather dust on a shelf. From the very start, the writing was on the wall. More movies, more shows, more merchandise, and more of everything until the brand could basically sustain itself forever. Star Wars has always been tied to commerce as much as art. George Lucas pioneered the idea of selling toys, games, and clothing as extensions of storytelling. The Ewoks in Return of the Jedi were designed to be plush dolls, and the prequels flooded stores with action figures of characters who barely had 3 seconds of screen time. So the concept of milking the galaxy for money is not new. Disney just scaled it up to blockbuster levels. The sequels are the clearest evidence of this strategy. The Force Awakens was fun, but it was also a beat-for-beat remix of A New Hope. It played things safe, introducing Rey as a scavenger, Finn as a stormtrooper gone rogue, and Kylo Ren as the new dark side menace. Fans were excited, but under the surface you could feel the formula. It was designed to reassure rather than innovate. Then The Last Jedi hit, and suddenly the fandom split down the middle. Some loved its risks, while others felt it betrayed the essence of the characters. Luke Skywalker as a bitter hermit was either bold subversion or character assassination, depending on who you ask. But either way, the movie revealed Disney's lack of a long-term plan. And The Rise of Skywalker proved it by scrambling to retcon plotlines and even dragging Palpatine back from the dead without a coherent explanation. This is the problem with the milking strategy. It is not the sheer volume of content, it is the absence of a unified vision. Marvel spent a decade weaving a careful tapestry, leading to Infinity War and Endgame. Star Wars under Disney feels more like 3 people trying to finish the same jigsaw puzzle, but throwing out half the pieces along the way. The shows reflect the same highs and lows. Andor is widely praised for giving us a grounded story of ordinary people resisting tyranny, showing us Star Wars can be compelling without Jedi. Meanwhile, the Book of Boba Fett gave us long stretches of nothing, awkward flashbacks, and even episodes that shifted focus entirely onto the Mandalorian instead of the character on the poster. That unevenness frustrates fans more than the quantity itself. Even the use of cameos highlights the corporate fingerprints. Luke Skywalker showing up in The Mandalorian was thrilling, but it also felt like Disney was holding up a sign that read, "Please clap." Ahsoka dropping into multiple shows excites hardcore fans who watch the animated series, but risks alienating casual viewers. Instead of organic storytelling, it sometimes feels like bait to drive subscriptions. The merchandise tells the same story. Star Wars toys once felt tied to major moments in the saga, but now it feels like every background alien is sold as a Funko Pop within a week. Collectors still buy them, but the sense of myth has been replaced with the sense of product. It is all about constant output rather than meaningful impact. Here is the ironic truth about Star Wars fans. We complain endlessly, we fight on forums, we dissect every frame of every trailer, and yet we always come back for more. People lined up for the prequels even after hating The Phantom Menace, and fans still bought tickets for Solo even while groaning about the idea of a young Han Solo movie. The point is clear. It is not the quantity that drives us away. It is the quality. Look at The Mandalorian as the perfect case study. When it launched, fans were skeptical, but it quickly won everyone over. Din Djarin was a new kind of hero. The Western-inspired tone felt fresh. And of course, Grogu stole the world's heart. Nobody complained that Disney was milking the galaxy at that point. In fact, fans celebrated because the story was engaging, the characters mattered, and it felt like Star Wars without simply repeating Star Wars. Then you have Andor, which went even further by stripping away Jedi and Sith entirely. It focused on the politics of rebellion, the sacrifices of ordinary citizens, and the corruption of the Empire. It delivered one of the best prison escape arcs in recent television, and gave us characters like Luthen Rael, who instantly felt iconic. That is Disney milking the brand in the best possible way, expanding the galaxy instead of recycling it. Contrast that with The Book of Boba Fett. Fans wanted a gritty crime lord story about one of the most feared bounty hunters in the galaxy. What they got was a confused mix of flashbacks, oddly slow pacing, and entire episodes hijacked by another show's characters. Instead of elevating Boba Fett, it made him less interesting, which is almost impressive given how much mystique he once had. That is what frustrates fans. Not that the show exists, but that it squandered the potential. Solo is another example. It was not a terrible movie, but it was unnecessary. Nobody was begging for the story of Han winning the Millennium Falcon from Lando. The film underperformed at the box office, not because people hate Star Wars, but because it felt like a project made by committee rather than something driven by passion. That is what fans push back against. Star Wars Visions, on the other hand, proved that experimentation is still possible. By handing the galaxy over to Japanese animation studios, we got new art styles, new tones, and fresh perspectives. Fans embraced it because it expanded the mythos in ways we had never seen before. That kind of creativity proves that Star Wars does not need to be stuck in nostalgia loops to succeed. The fandom itself is built on hope and resilience. Fans still argue about the prequels, but the Clone Wars series redefined that era and made many people rewatch them with new appreciation. That shows fans are not opposed to more content. We just want it to feel like it matters, like it connects, like it adds something meaningful to the galaxy we love. Even the sequel trilogy has defenders. There are people who genuinely love Rey, Finn, and Kylo Ren. The problem is not that they exist, it is that their arcs were mishandled. If those same characters had been given consistent direction, fans would embrace them wholeheartedly. The lesson here is that the fandom is not closed off. It is open, but it wants effort. So how can Disney make this never-ending stream of Star Wars actually worth it? The truth is, the problem's not the quantity, it is the lack of vision. As long as the company keeps producing projects without a clear roadmap, the results will keep swinging between brilliant and forgettable. The solution is not fewer projects, it is smarter projects. Step 1 is having a plan. Marvel succeeded because it charted a course over a decade, building to a payoff that fans could feel from the start. Star Wars has been floundering with cancelled movie announcements, shifting directors, and no sense of an overarching goal. Fans do not need every detail mapped out, but they need to feel like there is a direction, a destination. Right now it feels like wandering in circles. Step 2 is moving the timeline forward. We do not need more stories crammed between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, or endless trips back to Tatooine. The galaxy is huge, with thousands of years of history and limitless future possibilities. The High Republic era is an example of Disney testing new ground, but it needs to go further. Fans want new characters, new conflicts and new stakes, not just nostalgia reheated for the 100th time. Step 3 is character focus. When Star Wars gives us people to care about, it thrives. Ahsoka started as a divisive character, but grew into a fan favourite because the writing invested in her journey. Din Djarin and Grogu became iconic because their bond was genuine. Rex and the other clones stood out because they were treated as individuals. Star Wars cannot survive on cameos alone, it needs characters who resonate with audiences. Step 4 is balancing spectacle with meaning. Star Wars is famous for its epic visuals, but spectacle without substance is empty. Luke tossing his lightsaber in Return of the Jedi is more powerful than any CGI fleet because it has emotional weight. Andor proved you can make people hold their breath during a speech instead of a duel. That is the kind of balance Disney needs to aim for. Step 5 is using cameos sparingly. Nostalgia can be fun, but leaning on it too often makes the galaxy feel small. Luke, Ahsoka, and Boba Fett should enhance new stories, not carry them. The magic of Star Wars is its endless possibilities, and new characters should be leading the charge. Step 6 is empowering passionate creators. Tony Gilroy made Andor because he cared about telling a story about oppression and rebellion. And it shows Dave Filoni has spent years cultivating characters and lore that resonate with fans. When storytellers with passion are in control, Star Wars thrives. When committees dictate every decision, the magic fades. Step 7 is respecting the audience. Fans do not demand perfection, but they do demand care. Star Wars has always been flawed, sometimes cheesy, sometimes uneven, but it worked because it felt like it mattered. When the content feels like a soulless product, people disengage. When it feels like it was made with passion, people embrace it, even if it is imperfect. So yes, Disney is going to keep milking Star Wars until the end of time. And honestly, that is fine. But if they want fans to keep drinking, they need to make sure it is actually good. Because at the end of the day, nobody complains about more Star Wars when it feels like Star Wars.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.